Welcome back, family. We're going to be checking out the top slabs from 2024. Now, I make a list of the top slabs in my collection. However, a lot of people are doing the top slabs, the top books that they picked up in 2024. And when I started putting my list together, I realized that more than half of my top books are 2024. So I'm going to follow suit with everybody else and make one grand and glorious video of the top 20 comic book pickups that I made in 2024, all here in one video for you to enjoy. You want to see what they are, though, you got to stick around. Welcome back, family. Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully you're starting off 2025 wonderful. Hopefully you didn't have too many problems in 2024. I know a lot of people that did, and I'm praying for them. Hopefully they'll have a better year. Some of them couldn't have it worse. But let's all just remember that as crazy as things were, and as crazy as the comic book market was, we all got through it. And a lot of people panicked and sold books. A lot of people stopped collecting or just put it on hold. And some of the people, like myself, they took advantage of this market that has really I think it's beyond a correction. I think it's actually dropped down some to get those books, get some books that they always wanted to have and just never had the opportunity, just never, they were books that were priced out of their range. And even just kind of expand their collection and get books that they weren't on their radar because they just, wow, that'd be cool to have. And it's affordable now. So that's what I did. And as you can see, my wall is still very intact behind me. I have my list in front of me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as I say, let's hit this book. I'm going to pause the video, go and get the book, come back up. So this way you don't know what's what ahead of time if you happen to know my wall very well. But, without any further ado, let's jump right into it and hit number 20 of the best purchases that I made for my room here in 2024. Okay, so I am not going to be discussing prices as I'm going through. I'm just going to be talking about the books that I purchased, and if you are curious what the prices are, you just look them up or whatever. These are just books that I would really glad to have in my collection, as I individually value. They're not all in fair market value order. Okay, my criteria is that if the house is on fire, I got time to run in and get one book or one item, and you'll understand why I keep saying item later. Then that's my number one book. I get outside, the fire department says, "Oh, you got time to go get one more." Okay, well that would be book number 2. Yeah, so I just kept doing this. I was allowed 20 trips inside, and this was the 20th book that I took with the fire department's permission, of course. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 66 in a beautiful 9.0. And I loved the Ramita covers back then. But this was actually always one of my favorites. This book and the XMen number 50 Polaris have always been on my radar. The Polaris one, of course, more expensive than this. I did the Cartersville Comic Show again this year. And while it was better than last year, it still wasn't fantastic. I don't really think I broke even, but it wasn't a money pit like it was the year before, where I think I made $25 in sales for $200 a table, and excluding time and everything else. But what I did do is I did sell enough books, though, that combined with some money that I brought myself, I made a nice deal with another dealer because, and I told him, this is not for resale. I'm not doing this so I can put it on my wall. This, my personal wall, yes. This is one of my favorite covers of all time. And to get it in a 9.0, a 1966 book, 68 book, sorry. Hey, I'm from 1968 also. I'm not a 9.0 anymore, let me tell you. So I was really happy to add this one to my collection. So moving on to number 19. I've heard that we may be getting this character back, and I picked this book up before that announcement was made, so I think this book has actually gone up in value, because this is a book, again, another one of those ones that's used to be extremely high in price. And then, it dropped because the character was no longer in the MCU, and I always wanted to get it, and I found a really nice grade for a very good price. So I was able to pick up Avengers number 55 in an 8.5 white page. Now, you can't tell by the cover, and this book would be worth so much more if the character actually appeared on the cover, but this is the first appearance of Ultron, which is, not just in the MCU, but also a very major character in the comic books as well. So an 8.5 white page, and that made me very, very happy on this one. I do see where there was some, like, creases on the corners, and I don't think those are pressable. They just got too much indentation in them, but this book is actually really close, if that corner can be corrected, to break the 9.0 mark. Next book. I'm almost disappointed to have this one as low as 18, but it just kind of shows the quality of the books that are coming up after this. One of the great things that was a side effect of me making this channel and getting to know the community was to be able to get involved and make new friends within the community itself. I mean, I've had very positive reactions with, like, what do you call it? The boy who had 7, Reggie Collects, which, by the way, he's back. Well, temporarily. He'll see how it goes. He gave me a lot of advice on how to start the channel. Southern Comic Geek, John's Comics for Kids, a whole bunch of people. And you're wondering, why I'm omitting one name. It's because I'm saving the best for last, baby. The Comics Curing Cancer community with the Comic Vet Chris, you got DJ Links, and you got Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics. And my time working with them, and they do all the work. Okay, I'm not taking any credit for them. I'm pleased to be with them. I've gotten a couple of, little, what do you call it? Significant contributor awards, which that's one of my favorite things that I've gotten ever. But yeah, I really enjoy doing that. And another thing that I super enjoy doing is Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics. His channel has a weekly show called Only Slabs. It used to be called Slab Hub, and then somebody sued him for the name, which I don't even know if they copyrighted it. Whatever, it'd be a pain in the neck. It's comic books. Get over yourself. So he changed the name to Only Slabs, and coincidentally, the person that had Slab Hub, he's out and doesn't even use it anymore. So whatever. We have a lot of fun. That's the great thing. And I've been on that show 4 times. And I've gotten to the point where I actually start adding books to my collection going, Rob will love this when I get to show it on the show. I buy a book that I like that I know he'll like. Yeah, that's how crazy that is. And this is actually one of those pickups that when I saw it, my first thought wasn't, I want it. My first thought was, Rob will love this. This is from 1933 from the Kellogg's Company. This is the Buck Rogers 25th century. It's no number. And you can actually even see on the back cover the Kellogg lineup that they had at that time. I'd love to know what Kellogg's coffee tasted like. This is only a 4.5, but it is a white page. And what this was is they had the radio show. And this is actually the first time that they took, I guess, the storylines that they were putting into radio and put them into print form. Now, it's a giveaway, so it's not released by a comic book company, so I don't think it's considered the first comic book. But it does predate the actual first comic book by a couple of years. And, it's got that nice spaceship on the cover, which everybody loves, and we wouldn't have half of what we have today if it weren't for Buck Rogers' first sci-fi space storylines paving the way. So, yeah, yes, I love this book, and as my prediction was, Rob loved it too. Staying in the theme of comics curing cancer, though, the next book on the list kind of falls in the same category. 2024 was a great time, if you needed to upgrade some books, which I did do. I was able to upgrade a couple of books. One of the books that I had was a 9.6 white page, and I was able to upgrade it to a 9.8. And it was the Invaders Annual #1. This is the last cover artwork by Alex Schomburg. And if you don't know who Alex Schomburg is, you need to Google that name and find out. Like, the original Captain America and what do you call it? Namor, Human Torch, and Black Terror, and just an iconic artist, great artist as well. And also for 1977 to have a comic book with, with the swastikas on the cover. That was, definitely not going to find too many of those these days. So the question now, how did I say that this is related to it? Well, the question is, what am I doing with the 9.6? The 9.6 is actually one of the books I'm donating to 2025's Comic Curing Cancer auction, which is in October. And if you're not familiar with that, you need to go check out Comics Curing Cancer and get that weekly savings started, because they have some amazing books that are up there. Okay, so yeah, Invaders Annual #1, 9.8, Alex Schomburg cover, beauty. Moving up to number 16, we've got a storyline that I had heard about, but I never read. And the store manager, Sarah, at Visions Comics, dead serious reader of this storyline, was rather upset with me that I had never read it. So she gave me a Image First reprint copy of #1 to read. Bam, hooked right there on the spot. And I think by the time I got to issue 20, I'm like, this is one of the best storylines I've ever read. And I immediately started shopping for and purchased a Saga #1 first print in a 9.8. Which, by the way, if anything ever does happen to me, Sarah at Visions Comics should receive this. I got to get a will printed, because if she doesn't get this, she's going, forget me haunting her, she's going to haunt me. But I still am very, very glad about that. And it was really fun to see that one of Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics top 10 books of 2024 that he purchased was also a 9.8 Saga. It is a great book. There's, just bear in mind, if you're going to purchase them, I think there's 5 prints of it. And I'm speaking from memory here, I may be wrong, but I think prints 2, 3, and 5 are much lower price than 1 and 4. I think 1 being the highest, 4 being the second highest. It's something like that. One of the after first prints is a lower print run. So, and they all have a different color lettering for Saga. So find out which one it is if you'd really like to collect them, and keep your eye open for that after first print. You might find it someday at a garage sale. Who knows? And then if they're asking full price for the one, you can say, hey, look, this isn't even a first print. This is only a fourth print. No, that's kind of rude. But anyway, let's move up to number 15. Okay, now number 15 is a book I already had, and I bought another one. And the one that I had already is because the guy, I used to do the channel with, Greg, he had a beautiful collection behind his wall. There was one book I was always envious for. And I went and I got my own copy of it, so this way I could say we had a good book in common on our wall. I always wanted to have a book in common with him. I just thought it was cool. But then in 2024, this book started dropping in price, and sometimes you find books that are from other countries that people don't want to pay that exorbitant shipping, so they don't even follow the auction. And I wound up getting a copy. I think it was one of the lowest prices that I'd seen in quite a while. I think even with shipping, it was like $210. And I couldn't say no to it. When I contacted him, I said, hey, I just bought another copy. He said, why? I said, because it was $210. He goes, oh, yeah, I'd get it too. Let me tell you, right now, if you know what the price of this book is this week, because the news is blowing up, you understand why I am very happy that I got myself a second copy of Omega Man. Number 3, first appearance of Lobo in a 9.8 white page. This book has broken the $400 mark this week because thanks to a tweets from both James Gunn and Jason Momoa, we know that Jason Momoa is officially been cast to play Lobo in the new Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, or the new Supergirl or Superwoman movie. Not sure if it's Supergirl or Superwoman, if I'm quoting one way wrong or the other. I don't mean to offend anybody. I just don't know which one it is. But yeah, really happy about this. I'm really tempted to sell one right now, but I got a feeling more that when the trailer hits, it may even go higher. So, no matter what, I can't go wrong because I'm just happy that I have 2 copies. Not just 1, but 2. Okay, coming in at number 14 on the list. This might not be the highest grade, but It's still, even the low grades were really, really expensive when the news first happened a couple years ago about this. And it's been slowly dropping in price. 2024 really did drop a bit. Enough that I was able to get myself a well, what do you call it, presenting copy. And that's all I really wanted, was just to have one for the wall. So I got myself a 2.5 off-white to white, Tomb of Dracula, number 10, the first appearance of Blade. And yeah, again, it depends upon how far away you are. You can see when you get close that the 20 cents is ripped there. But overall, the book does not look that bad. Back cover also looks pretty good. So I was very happy to get a first appearance of Blade. And I'll be honest, I didn't even check to see which way this book went, north or south, after the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. I'm assuming it went up a little bit. But with all the news with Mahershala Ali and the movie's canceled, it's not canceled. It is canceled, it's not canceled. We don't know what's going on anymore. So I don't know which way this book is going to go, but even if it drops half its price, I'm still glad that I was able to put a first appearance of Blade into my collection. I always liked this, like this cover even before the first Blade movie. I mean the first Blade movie, Wesley Snipes. Ice skating uphill guy. Again, don't want to say anything else than that, but yeah, and the fact that he appears right there on the cover, and, it's a beautiful book. So that was one of the ones there. So coming in number 13, there were 3 X-Men books that I had my sights on. Of course, X-Men 1 would be, but even 0.5 is out of my price range, so I wasn't really looking for that. But of course, you've got your GSX 1. You have your X-Men 101, First Appearance of Phoenix, and another book that I've never in my life owned and finally got myself a copy of would be X-Men number 94. Now, outside the giant-size X-Men number 1, this was the second appearance of Storm and Colossus and Nightcrawler. I think it's considered the third appearance of Wolverine. Which it's not the third appearance. The third appearance is actually Hulk 182. Then this would be like the 5th appearance. But it says New X-Men Begin, the Sunfire leaves, second appearance of Nightcrawler, Storm, Thunderbird, and Colossus. I keep forgetting Thunderbird because Thunderbird dies the issue after this. And it's got the custom label on it, which is nice, and it is a 5.5 white page. The reason I was able to get this for a really, really good price is even though it's a 5.5 white page, it's got a printing error. Apparently it had an ink blob on it or something like that. So if you look at the spine, going up and down there, you see all that extra blue ink, and you can really see it there on the back cover all the way along here. It's a printing error, and honestly, unless I told you about it, you're not going to see it from here. And it looks really, really nice, and they don't hold it, they shouldn't hold printing errors against it in grading. But a 5.5 white page, I'm actually really happy about this book, and I know as the X-Men start getting introduced into the MCU, this book has got only one direction to go. Still got to get that 101 and GSX 1. I'm still watching, got to have some books for me for the 2025 collection too. But I was able to get one of those ones off my list. Okay, coming in at number 12 is the only item on my list that is not a comic book. Okay, it is comic related. And it is one of the things that I loved in my collection. And it was something that I got in 2024. So I really felt it belonged on this list. So it's a Funko Pop. And I have people like, oh, just get past the Funko Pop, and so we can get back to the comic books. Before you just skip forward, tell me if you just think that this one is cool. So it's a Funko Deceased number 421 Batman. But it does say right on it, I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. Wrong way. Kevin Conroy. Yeah. And it does have the back. Come on, get in there. Come on. You know you want to. You can read it. It says Beckett Authenticated. So we have a Beckett Authenticated, not just signature, but inscription. And he even drew a little Batman on it. That's all done. Now, I wish this would have been in a different Batman Funko Pop, but beggars can't be choosers. It's got a great inscription, a little doodle, and a beautiful signature of Kevin Conroy right there on the side. I was so ecstatic when I got this. And, yeah. Again, it's not a comic book. It's definitely comic related. And it's a person that did he pass away in 2023? I think it was 2023 when he passed away. I tried waiting a while to see, because a lot of times as soon as they pass away, the prices spike and then they come back down. Prices never came back down. So I had to be very, very attentive to find a decent one. They had just regular signed ones, but to have that extra writing on the front of it, I absolutely love it. So, and kind of poignant that think about it, he is deceased, in fact. So that was my only non-comic here in the countdown. But let's move on. So going back in time now, I've got a Golden Age book here at number 11. This is not a key book in any way, shape, or form. I have no idea what the story is. Don't care. The cover is just one of my favorite covers of all time that I have ever seen. I know there's got to be 1,000 other covers I never saw that I'll love just as much, but I love this one. This is a 4.5 off-white page from 1943. It is WOW Comics number 11, and it's showing Mary Marvel there with all the professions of women helping to support and win World War II. So in case people are thinking, oh, you got all this women empowerment in 2024, it ain't nothing new. Get over it, okay? Women deserve to be recognized for what they do in the world just as much as men do. And that cover is just absolutely gorgeous. And you think about the color palette that they had back then to work with. They didn't have like 1,000 different colors that they could throw into the printer. It was like 6 colors, and they had to try to work with shades a little bit. And you could figure that out if you micro-analyze every single blue and every single red. But the way that they did it, they took the time. It's just amazing back then. And if that wasn't good enough, you get a free telescope with this offer on the back cover. But yeah, that right there is one of my favorite covers in my collection. Not just of Golden Age or 2024. That's one of my favorite covers. I have a little shelf over there where books are on individual stands, which has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 books. This is one of those 10 books. You've already seen the Tomb of Dracula, and there are 3 more still coming up on this list. That's how much I love that shelf. Okay, so as many of you know about me, one of the books that I love collecting the most is the Walt Disney comic books. The Walt Disney comic stories, Mickey Mouse magazines, anything with even the newer Disney homages on the Amazing Spider-Man. What if Mickey Mouse were on the Avengers? Cool cover. I got to get it. It's just, I think it's cool. It appeals to me. And that's the great thing about comic books is everybody can have, it could be 10,000 people. You can have 10,000 different collections, and each one of them is going to be tailored to that particular collector. So the books that you collect, it's not necessarily the books that I collect. Doesn't matter. Is what makes us happy. That's, it's not like collecting stocks and bonds and silver coins. It's about picking something that you hope intrinsically will go up in value, but it's also something that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and it's not from that moldy bread that you ate. So, all right, so let's crack the top 10, shall we? Coming in at number 10, I've got a 1938. Yeah, that's right. 1938 Mickey Mouse magazine. This is from January 1938, and this is how they rung in the year, and I got a nice 7.0. Mickey Mouse magazine. Now you can see it says Spirit of 1938 is a very young Donald Duck, and 1937 is the Goofy headed out. He's the older one, and I think my favorite little detail on this is even though Goofy has a sickle, it's Disney, so they have to keep it safe. So if you look at the top there, it's got a cork on the end of the sickle. That way nobody can get hurt. And again, you think about they only use, 3 colors or 4 colors in this entire cover. And on the back cover is an ad for the Mickey Mouse watch, which is only $3.95. It had a little dangly charm and everything. I tried finding these, by the way. To get a nice working one, you're looking at over $1,000. They also had a pocket watch with a lapel cord. It was available for $1.50. I'm trying to see. Yeah, this is an Ingersoll watch. Good movement too. There are versions of this that are still working to this day. But yeah, and I saw this. I'm like, I gotta have this. A 1938 in a 7.0. And the Mickey Mouse magazines, after they finished their run, those same stories were printed in the Mickey Mouse, Walt Disney Comics and Stories, which is still in print to this day. There are over 1,000 issues on that. Let's go to number 9. Okay, so number 9 is one of my most recent purchases. I mean, I think it's literally the last. I think it's the last slab that I bought. I just got it maybe 2 weeks ago. But it's made the list primarily because of condition. This is 1952 Weird Fantasy number 11. Again, not a key or anything, but a 1952 EC book. And if you've ever gone shopping for EC books, you'd see like the grand cluster seem to be 3.0 to 3.5. And then the prices start getting ridiculous once you pass 5. So when I was able to get an 8.5 EC book in white pages, I mean, look how white that back cover is. I was just so ecstatic when I won this auction, and when it came in, and I'll be honest, when it came in, it looked even better in person than I saw in the pictures that were on eBay. So this one really, really gave me a nice jolt of happiness in the month of December. Beautiful Al Feldstein cover on this. And you can see Feldstein's little name down there at the bottom underneath the word stories. I love it. Let's go on with the countdown. I'm not Casey Kasem, but we're still going to have some fun. Okay, so coming in number 8. This is not even a book I bought for myself, to be perfectly honest. But if you could already see... Okay, move my fingers right. That section's empty. It's because this is I put it up there as a top shelf book. I did buy this for Mrs. Ohana, and she does like the book. Don't get me wrong, it's not in here because it's she doesn't want it. It's in here because it's just a really cool book to have up on the wall. Because DC Comics presents number 47, first appearance of He-Man and Skeletor in comics, and a 9.6. Newsstand edition as well, which I think they might... 1982, newsstand was the most popular at that time, but fine, high grade newsstand is still a little bit harder to do. But yeah, nice 9.6 newsstand edition of DC Comics presents 47, first appearance of He-Man / Skeletor in comic books. And Battle Cat. Don't forget the Battle Cat. Let's move on. Okay, coming in at number 7. We're slowly climbing up this list. This book, I tried to get really lucky with this, and I kind of did. A major announcement came out from the MCU this year, which caused a lot of books to start shooting up in price. And there was one book that I always wanted to get, and within 24 hours of this announcement, I said I got to set my sights and try to get myself a decent copy of this book before the trickle down of all the books related to this character catches up with it. And thankfully I did. So at a good price for that time, and even better for it now if you think about it, so I'm happy with it. I've got Marvel Superheroes number 20 in a 7.5 off-white pages. This is, all I gotta just say is Doctor Doom with that iconic cover. And again, this is a book that I always wanted to get, and it was kind of like on my low hanging, like it's on my radar, but not at the top of my radar list. But when they made the announcement that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be playing Doctor Doom, I knew that the first appearance of Doom was going to go up, that the Doom Iron Man books were going to go up, and I'm like, everybody's going to be shooting for those, and as those get out of price range, they're going to be looking for other Doom books, and I knew that this one was going to be affected by that market. So within 24 hours, I'm like, if I want to take advantage of this low price, the current low price, 2024 low price, I have to do it now or just forget it. So I just, hunkered down and started doing some searching, and I found this 7.5 at less than some of the 5.0s were selling for. So very, very happy about that. Again, another very clean back cover. It's a 19, you don't even think about it. This is a 1969 book. So it's not like it's from the Bronze Age. It's still silver. And again, it's one of those cool covers, just like the Medusa cover or the Polaris cover that I always wanted to get. So I got very lucky and got it done before everything went crazy. Okay, moving up to number 6. As I stated before, I love my Walt Disney comic books. And actually, this whole section here is all... actually, sorry. This entire shelf is Walt Disney comic books. As well as a couple up on the top shelf. Let's stuff off to the side. I love those Walt Disney books. One of the only celebs guests a couple of weeks ago on Rob's Fat Stacks had all Disney books. And I was at work, so I missed the live show. But even Rob sent me a message like, you better make sure you watch this on replay, man. It's all Disney. And I did, and I loved the whole thing. And it was funny because the very last book that he showed was Amazing Fantasy 15. I didn't care about that book as much as all the Disney books I just watched. Not quite true. I do care about Amazing Fantasy 15. I'll never own it, but what the heck. Anyway, though, I did get myself a couple of nice Disney books this year. And this is a key. This is a major key, which meant I'm even willing to buy a restored grade. You know, that purple label of death, it only means something if you're going to sell it. Okay, if you're buying the book for yourself and you don't care that it's got a purple label, then don't care about it. Okay, again, it only affects the value if you're trying to sell it. That being said, it's a decent grade for a very major key in the Walt Disney world. We've got Walt Disney Comics and Stories, number 31. The first, let me read it exactly what it says. The Carl Barks Donald Duck stories begin. Carl Barks is regarded as one of the top 10 comic artists of all time. He's on most lists of the top 10 artists of all time. Drew Donald for decades. Okay, and this is where it began, this particular issue. And you can look and see it really does look beautiful. Even the back cover looks beautiful. And I'm okay with the purple label. It's a 7.0, still white pages on the inside. Okay, the spine, everything on this looks, you know, it does have a bit of restoration to it. So I'm going to read it to you. It says slight/mod A2. A2 is not a great one here. Restoration includes small amount of color touch on cover, pieces added to the cover. Somebody's got to explain to me how they're adding pieces. Yeah. Cover and interior reinforced, staples cleaned. I don't mind that one so much. Centerfold married. That's a bad one. That means that the centerfold that was in this did not come in this book. It came from a different comic book. Somebody had a really bad comic book. They undid the staples. They took out the centerfold and they put it into this book. They probably cleaned the staples at the same time. And the right edge of page 18 and 19 were trimmed. It was probably a bad wrap. It was sticking out and they cut it to make it look even. Okay, so all that being said, it's still, I mean, if you had the opportunity to say get the first appearance of Green Goblin or the first appearance of Joker or, you know, a major book that you wanted to get, you know, and you knew that the regular books are just out of your price range, and you can get a book that if I just covered this dang thing up and I showed people, if I cracked it out of here, and I think I could probably send it back in and tell them I don't want the purple label, give me a blue label, and it would knock it down to a 4.0. I would be so happy with this, and I paid less than a 4.0 price for it. So this is one of my favorite books, not only from 2024, but in my collection in general. But then again, everything coming up is one of my favorite books. That's why they're ranked even higher. Let's find out what those are. Okay, we're hitting into the top 5. And the funny thing is, it's coming in at number 5 is a book that, God, for decades, I said, I'm never going to buy that book. It's overpriced. You know how many copies they printed of that? How many there are on the census? It's overpriced. Blah, 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 blah. I finally just broke down. I just needed to get a copy, but I just couldn't pull the trigger on something that broke the 9.0 barrier. So I got an 8.5 white page ASM number 300, first full appearance of Venom. So he does appear like a little bit in cameo at 298 and 299 with one of probably the most homaged covers you'll ever see. It did have the custom label with Venom on the top there, so I was good with that. I got it for a really decent price, and it's actually it was it came down in 2024, and I happened to get mine, and it's actually gone back up because of the Venom movie. I think it'll come back down again unless we get some kind of news about Venom appearing in the MCU or in live-action Spider-Man movies going forward. Which, overall, I wasn't that crazy about the Venom Last Dance movie. It was good. It was okay. I absolutely adored the dance scene. Especially the line of, when did you practice? When did you have time to practice this? Overall, the story wasn't that great, but it had some moments that I really did like. But yeah, I just finally had to pull the trigger and join the ASM 300 club. I'll never be a member of the Mile High Club, but at least I got to be a member of some kind of club, right? All right, so there we are. We hit number 5. So I know a lot of people are out there going, wow, even though it's an 8.5, Spider-Man number 300 comes in number 5? What do you got coming up? Well, got some pretty good books. Like I told you, 2024 with the prices coming down gave me an opportunity to pull the trigger on a few key books that I should have bought a long time ago, didn't when I was a kid, should have, would have, could have. And, what do you call it? Coming in at number 4, it's only a third printing, but it is a TMNT number 1 in 7.5. And this is a book that I was advised way back in the early 80s to buy a first printing or multiple. And because I knew everything there was to know about comic books when I was a teenager. I'm the world's smartest collector. I know. I was collecting for 10 years, and B, I was a teenager. So that automatically meant that I knew everything in the world. I was convinced it was another parody book like Howard the Duck, and it would go nowhere, so I didn't buy them. Ba-boom, right? Stupid. Anyway, so I was able to, I found I saw a copy that looked good. It's a 7.5, off-white to white page. It is a third printing because I can't afford the second or the first at this point. But it is something that, thankfully because of the label being so small, you have to get up close to see it's a third printing. But when you see it in the background on my on the shelf, you don't know that. So you're like, wow, he's got a TMNT 1. Yeah. And I'm very happy that I got it. Okay, we're up to number 3. And number 3 is actually, probably the most money I've ever spent on a Raw book. At this point. I'm eyeballing another one for 2025 that could surpass this. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what that income tax return looks like first, right? But I bought this in a Raw, and I was very scared about this because this is one of those books that high grades are a fortune. And as they come down the grade chart, they drop quickly. So it's not like one of those books where a 3.0 costs $200 and an 8.0 costs $300. It's more like an 8.0 might be $2,500 and a 3.0 might be $100. This book is very, very grade sensitive. So I did the best I could as far as checking out the grades through the pictures and estimating it. And actually, this actually has a tie into Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics too. He recommends what's it called, the Denver Trader for comic pressing. And I can do my own pressing, but when it comes to really expensive books, I acknowledge I'm not an expert and I'd rather defer to one. So I bought this book. I sent it to him to get it pressed. It was, actually, I wound up getting this book right before he did a big show on the West Coast. And he pressed it. He sent it to CGC. I got it back from CGC, and I'm still emailing him saying, dude, you never charged me for pressing the book and for mailing it to CGC. I don't know how much to pay you. He, after he finally got caught up with stuff, he said, look, I'm sorry I didn't see your emails. Do me a favor. Don't pay me anything. Just make a donation to Comics Curing Cancer. I was so happy with that. I'm just, it should have been like $30. I'll donate 30. No, I just donated 100. Okay. Thank you. Now, guys, don't send your books to this guy to get them graded, to get them clean and pressed, hoping that if he gets to charge you, okay, send them to him to know that he does a good job, okay? And you can find the information on Rob's Fat Stacks of Comics. As a matter of fact, I think there's even a code that if you use, you'll get he'll make a donation to Comics Curing Cancer, and you get a certain percentage off. So, but anyway, I knew what grade I had to hit to break even. I knew what grade I had to hit to show a profit, and I exceeded both of them. Marginally, but again, marginally means a big difference in this book. So coming in as my number 3 acquisition for 2024, Vampilla, number 1 in a 7.5. And I knew I had to hit like a 6.5 to break even, 7.0 to make a profit. 7.5 actually is even higher. And it's off-white to white pages. Believe me, if this was an 8, it would be even so much more than a 7.5. It makes, those small grade bumps in this range make such a difference. It's ridiculous. But I was very happy when I saw 7.5. And this is one of those books that when I do shows, I put it out. And I ask an extremely high price because I really don't want to sell it. It's more of a display item. Beautiful red back cover. And if we ever get a good Vampilla movie, ooh, hello. Oh, the floors of that movie theater will be sticky. Oh, let's move on with the countdown. Okay, so we only got 2 books left. And the funny thing is they both have the same grade. They both are 0.5s. That tells you right there they've got to be something decent, right? Well, this next book, coming at number 2, was the first thing that I purchased, the first acquisition of 2024. The auction actually literally ended January 5th, and I got it a few days later. I talked with the person that was selling it. He actually had upgraded. He has an amazing, amazing collection. My stuff wouldn't make his dollar bin, okay? He's got a beautiful collection. And this was a book that he had in his collection that just kind of like a bookmark until he got a better grade. Now, I'll be honest, for a 0.5, both these next 2 books present beautifully. This got a custom label. If you just look at this book, you would swear it's a 4.0. And believe me, I wish it was. But we've got Daredevil number 1. See, for a 0.5, doesn't that look beautiful? Now, I'm going to turn it around and you'll have a better idea why. Because once I turn it around, you can see those 3 punch holes. But going back to the front, now you know there's punch holes there. Where are they? Well, one's right below his hand. See, now I can throw some light through it. One's up in... Oh, actually, it's right through his neck, right above the D. See it? There we go. And the last one is going through the abdomen of the guy with the gun. But unless I point them out, most people don't see them. And it's got a nice, like I said, it's got a nice custom label. It's the first appearance of Daredevil and Foggy and Karen Page. Yeah, and we've got the show coming out, which we're getting back also Foggy Nelson and Karen Page for the original actors from the Netflix series. I'm happy about that. And I have no problem with this being a bookmark or even just a permanent Daredevil number 1 in my collection. I really love this book. And, again, since he had such a great collection, he's much, much wealthier than I am, apparently. I was able to get this for a price that, it was... the lower price affected my wallet more than it affected his. Let's put it that way. Really, really friendly guy, though. I wouldn't mind if he ever upgrades the Daredevil, which is now a 5.0, to a higher level, and wants to sell that 5.0. I'll see if I can talk. Better than I'm talking now. It sounds like I'm going through puberty. Okay, before we get to the number 1 book, there were, of course, books that didn't quite make the list. So I'm going to show you 3 honorable mentions, the ones that I was kind of toying with at the end. So not this one, not this one, not this one. And one of them I feel really bad about because I do love the book, but there's other books on the list that just mean a little bit more to me. This one has got more sentimental meaning to me than anything else. The last couple of years, when we've had the big auction on Comics Curing Cancer, to really break us through that ceiling that we never hit before, that, what do you call it, Star Trek, boldly go where no man has gone before, Rob has taken books out of his personal collection and thrown them up on the auction to try to, get that extra boost of money. And in 2023, I didn't get any because by that point in the auction, I was broke. This year, knowing that he may do that, I intentionally kept money on the side because I'm like, I want to get one of Rob's books. I really, really do. I want to get one of Rob's books. And I got into a little bit of a bidding war with somebody, and I can't remember who it was. Rob, if you ever see this, put his name in the chat. It wasn't DJ Links. It was one of your other major supporters who spent a lot of money, did a lot of beautiful things during the auction. He just kept bidding more and more and more, and I hit my threshold of how high that I could go, and he went higher. I'm like, God, dang it. All right, you got it. Sorry. As soon as I folded, he put in the chat that if I agreed to donate the opening bid, which was $100 to Comics Curing Cancer, then his purchase would go to me. So he was buying me the book if I would donate an extra $100. I'm like, this is freaking amazing. Okay, I'm like, yes, and within 10 seconds I made that donation. And I was able to get the last book of the auction right out of Rob's personal collection, a beautiful 8.5 Joe Paluca comic. And you know, if you know me, I love collecting at least one from every comic book title I get my hands on. This is from 1946-47, December 46 to January 47. And an 8.5, the Joe Paluca comics. And if you're wondering why it's a little bit too glossy, it's still inside the plastic bag because I'm not taking it out of that. So that one. I also did get, and this is probably the one only metal cover I'll ever get because they're just very expensive. They're like $100 for all. But I sent it in for grading, and I'm ticked off with good reason, and I'll explain in a second. But this is the Lilo and Stitch Dynamite Entertainment. This is a David Nakayama cover, and this is metal, and I got a 9.8 white pages. Now, why am I ticked off? If I invite you, please, to go and check this yourself. Go look at the CGC census for the Lilo and Stitch Virgin Metal cover variant, and you will see that every cover that was sent in that was raw like this was a 9.8. Every yellow label signed by David Nakayama is a 9.9. So that means if David Nakayama signed it, CGC gave it a grade bump. If you didn't have it signed, they penalized you. There are 0 9.8s that are not signed. There are 0 9.9s unsigned. There are 0 9.8s that are signed. And there's no way that I can take this book and allow him to sign it and that would improve its grade. Okay, so that just really gives me a sour taste in my mouth, which is, even though I love the book, that's one of the reasons why this did not make the top 20. And the last one, this is a very key book. It's one of the first 6. But it is a low grade, and let me tell you, it looks like a low grade, okay? This is a 1.0, and this looks even, this works 10 times worse than the Daredevil 0.5. And we have the Incredible Hulk, number 6. It looks like it's been run over a few times, and it did make it a 1.0. It's probably because the cover is intact. Back cover has also got a lot of wear on it, like somebody put it on the floor mat and walked over it about 10,000 times for a few years. But first appearance of the Team Brigade and the Metal Master, and it is the last issue before they went to the Tales to Astonish. Does that sound right? And then came back to Hulk with 102. I'm looking at it, but I can't quite read the number, so I'm pretty sure it's 102. I'd love to get 1 through 5. 1 is the one that I'll never afford. I might get lucky with 2 through 5. We'll see. But really, really poor presenting, but still expensive in its own right because of its rarity. Okay, enough dilly-dally. Let's get to the number 1 book of 2024. Okay, I want to say, first off, thank you for sticking around this long and having a great time with me going through these books. I've gotten a nice workout because I'm getting up, going and putting the last book back and getting the next book each time. But just before I throw this, I just want to remind everybody, if you've liked what you've seen, please click thumbs up that you like it. Click on, subscribe. It'd be really nice if you join the channel. And click on notifications so you know when those other videos are dropping. If I had done a list of everything that was great in my collection, my top books of my collection as a whole, Number 1 and 2 would have been number 1 and 2. Daredevil would have been my number 2 book of my entire collection. And this book would have been my number 1. And I erroneously said something before because I forgot that I did this with this book. I said before that the Vampilla was the most I had spent on a Raw comic. Well, I'll be honest, at that point, it was. This book blew it out of the water. This book I spent, and I haven't talked prices, but this book I spent well over $2,000 for, and I've got a 0.5, and I'm very happy that I have a 0.5. Blue label. I was worried about getting a, what do you call it, a purple label or a green label. This book is, not only is the cover completely detached, but it is also split. I can hold the back cover over here and the front cover over here. So, but still, this is one of those books. Everybody has those. I want to have a Detective Comics 27 and an Action Comics 1 and an AF 15. Everybody wants to have those key books that everybody knows. But again, when you start personalizing the collection to you, there are certain key books that you want for yourself that apply to you. This was my Grail. This was the one that I wanted above all else. Now, I mean, if I get an AF 15, it'll probably be over this on a countdown. But this is the one that really made me feel like I've made my collection legitimately good. For me. It is a Walt Disney Comics and Stories number 1. And in case you're wondering, go look at Walt Disney Comics and Stories number 600. It is an homage to this. Now you can see that whole cover, it used to be taped together and the tape was taken off before I got it. Back cover is there. It's telling you if you want to subscribe for $1 per year. And the only issue that they had to put there as a picture was this one itself. More importantly though, when I was able to send this in, it was, I've never read the book. I could, hopefully all the pages were there. Yeah, it doesn't even give any negative marks about detached cover or anything. There are no pages missing. Everything is still intact with the exception of the fact that the cover is detached. And it is off-white pages, which the word cream does not apply here, which is really, really good. 1940, this comic book started. Still in production to this day. And my love of Walt Disney Comics, you can't have a complete collection unless you got number 1. And 2024, I was able to do that. And when it came back and I saw that blue label, that's all I cared about. I didn't care if it was a 0.5. I didn't want to see no grade. I didn't want to see a purple label. I didn't want to see a green label where it said missing pages. I got a blue label, and I was just ecstatic. So that is my collection, my improvements, the things that I purchased, my acquisitions for 2024. Guys, I've been at this for almost an hour, and I'm still loving every second of it. Thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to check us out on New Comic Book Day, where we give away books every single week. Don't forget to check out Only Slabs on Rob's Fat Sacks of Comics. Get into that Comics Curing Cancer community. Don't belittle any collection that you have. If your books are better than mine, congratulations. If your books are not as good as mine, doesn't matter. Does your collection mean something to you? That's the only thing that matters. If you bought a book that cost $20 and now it's worth 10, but you look at the book and it still brings you happiness, then that's all that matters. I mean, you can go spend $20 on a movie and it stinks. You spent the $20. You go buy a $20 comic book that every time you look at it, it makes you happy because you know you own it. It's money better spent than going to the movies at that point, right? Life's too short. Got to find those little things that make you happy. So whatever your collection is, whether it's small, large, expensive, inexpensive, whatever, you enjoy it. If you enjoy the collection and it makes you happy, then that itself makes it priceless. So put in the comments, I want to know what good books that you got this year. Whether they're expensive or not, doesn't matter. If you see a book in the comments that you don't think is that great, no negative. Okay? I don't care if somebody even puts in there, I've got My Little Pony. I don't care. If it makes them happy, then so be it. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and click on those notifications. Keep an eye out for more videos. And check out us on, our Patreon. The link is in the description. Or you can also help support the channel by becoming a YouTube member. Other than that, though, every time that I see you guys, I smile. Hopefully I can return the smile to you. Until I see you in the next video, though. Mahalo.